trees ripped out of the ground, cowboy burgers, and big indents looking like footprints. It's gotta be Bray Road.
Hello and welcome to the Weird Around Illinois podcast. As my associate indicated, this week we're going to be talking about our return to Bray Road. Let's get weird. We started this trip with a whole different game plan. But before we get into that, we should probably talk about our comment of the week. What was it from? This was actually from about a week and a half ago, I think.
Yeah, this comment was from Frank. Says the Jersey Devil, hands down. Also the Wendigo, definitely.
So this was in response to our which cryptid would you most want to see?
Right.
Okay. Well, the Jersey Devil, I mean, that is a weird creature, and it's apparently been cited by a lot of people too.
The first image I ever looked at it, the first thing that came into my head is like a neck and head of a giraffe and just wings of some kind of dragon something, but it was terrifying, you're right.
I wish we had it closer to Illinois. It's also one of the rare cryptids that has a professional sports team named after it, the New Jersey Devils. But unless it decides to take a little vacation out west, I'm afraid we probably won't be running into it, at least not for the purposes of our podcast.
Right.
Because we focus on weird around Illinois. And luckily for us, Elkhorn, Wisconsin is around Illinois. So we took our second trip up to Elkhorn, once again looking for Dogman, also referred to as the Beast of Bray Road. Just to recap, the Beast of Bray Road was reported a couple decades ago, and there have been isolated, scattered sightings since. People see it on the road itself, people see it nearby. It is a big two-legged wolf-man creature. Looks like a werewolf almost. A couple of the things that stand out about it are the fact that it has glowing eyes, it is 6 to 7 feet tall, and it appears to be able to actually hold objects like a human, like with an opposable thumb claw of some sort. Reported, of course, or most of the data collected on these reports came from the late great Linda Godfrey, who was a reporter in that area who summed up a lot of these stories about the Beast of Bray Road. And this was what led us to our last hunt, where we traveled up and down Bray Road, mostly by car, and checked out a local cemetery because we'd heard rumors that Dogman likes to hang out in cemeteries, almost like a hellhound guarding the graves. We checked out a great hamburger joint called Fred's, checked out a great frozen custard place called Adrian's, and generally just checked out the area, did a few howls, heard a couple of kind of suspicious things, but nothing that really screamed to us, oh my gosh, there's a Dogman here.
Yeah, it was a little bit more calm in that time.
Yeah, definitely. And it was enough of a feeling though for us to want to come back, especially with all the history that area has. But our plan this time was a little different. For instance, last time we came in the fall and we came on a full moon. Again, following my theory that Dogman is a werewolf, which has been pretty much debunked at this point, but we're still going to keep that on the back burner. But conditions were different this time.
Yeah, this time there was no moon. It was during the spring, and it was actually really warm. It was like a perfect day.
Yeah, much warmer than last time. I remember it was downright cold that night last time.
Yeah, it was feeling like summer weather.
We started our hunt in the day. That was a little different than last time too. I mean, last time we cruised up and down the road during the day to kind of get the lay of the land, but this time we actually started our investigation during the day, and we started it on foot at a place called the White River Trailhead. Just never-ending path.
Yeah. Now, like the first half mile, it was, on one side, it was just a bunch of houses. It just seemed kind of normal. But on the other side, it was more of a field. I mean, there was a highway that we went over.
Yeah, that was a little past the half-mile mark. We crossed the highway. And up until that point, I was looking at it and thinking, boy, I brought you guys to the wrong place, because there's nothing. There couldn't be anything here.
Right, I was getting worried about that too, but eventually kind of returned to the kind of environment we were looking for.
Right. Yeah. Once we got past that highway, we walked under the bridge loaded with graffiti. It seems like we can't get away from the graffiti wherever we go. The scariest bit of graffiti was the thing that said "Stop killing me" underneath it. I'm not sure who that message is for or who that message is from, but I'm glad we saw it in daylight, not as the sun was going down.
Yeah. What was weird also was that we saw an alien print as well.
Yeah, somebody drew an alien, and
yeah.
There were a lot of references to ghosts. It was
questionable.
Yeah, we were. I felt almost like the guys on Skinwalker Ranch when they were looking at the hieroglyphics written by ancient Native Americans on the rocks.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all this graffiti, thinking, who wrote this and why?
So, I want to start with this. So, when we were on the trail, we weren't expecting this specifically, but we ended up coming across one of those huts. So it was basically just a bunch of little branches, not really tied together, but stacked on top of each other to form some kind of little house.
Yeah, like a nest. And it was weird. It wasn't just branches stacked. It was some were bent.
Yeah.
It was
enough to make a relatively perfect kind of spear thing on the ground.
Yeah, for lack of a better term for it, I would say it looked like a stick igloo.
That's perfect, yeah. But, we checked, there was actually an entrance. There will be an image on screen, but there was an entrance in there almost.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Yeah, and it was a big enough entrance that a human or a dogman could get through it.
Yeah, let's just say it was a human. If it was just a homeless man maybe spending the night, why? Why would they make an igloo like that?
Yeah, that's a lot of work for a temporary shelter.
Yeah, it would be better just to sleep on the ground and that's it.
Or under the bridge.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's also wipes under the hut too?
Yeah, there was an empty canister of wipes. Either it is somebody living there and likes to keep a clean hut, or maybe if it were an animal or dogman or something living in there, maybe they just saw the canister, thought it looked shiny, and wanted to grab it and bring it with them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Don't know the storyline of these things.
No.
And who knows? Maybe it took it as a weapon. Maybe it was gonna throw it at someone.
Possibly. The hut was really close to the road, though, or close to the path. And what I found interesting about that is it seemed like a great ambush point. It seemed like something could hide in there and wait for a deer to walk by or a person to walk by and jump out. We even saw some flattened grass next to the hut that looked like something was using that trail quite frequently, like running out of the hut to the path.
That is true.
And that wasn't the only hut we saw. We saw a couple other structures that were kind of similar, or, so in some cases just clumps of bushes that seemed to have a path leading into them. You can't rule out humans, but it just seemed odd.
It seems really unnatural for a human to make one of those. That would make no sense.
That was just after the bridge, I think. That was probably at about the 3/4 mile mark.
Yeah, somewhere around that.
And then once we passed the mile mark was when we hit the next thing that was really interesting to me. I should preface this by saying there are a lot of downed trees in the area. It looks like the farmers had been clearing up some brush. There was a lot of saw marks. You could see trees that were cut down by saws.
Yeah, it looks relatively smooth.
Right. But then we saw this particular downed tree. And when I first saw it, I thought, oh, lightning strike, because it was split at the trunk. It was about an 8-inch diameter trunk. And, split, the top of the tree laying over. As we got closer to it, we looked at it and saw there were no scorch marks like you would see from lightning. there was nothing to indicate that any sort of machinery was used on this. It looked like something literally pulled the tree over and snapped it right at its 8-inch trunk.
Yeah, you think that there's some kind of logical explanation for that, like some kind of lightning strike or construction, as you said, but that really just was bent. That I don't understand what could have done that. Not even wind could do that.
And again, I don't want to meet the thing that has the strength to do that.
It's gonna throw you across the entire trail.
Yeah, I know we've had that other podcast where we discussed the strength of Dogman. If Dogman did this, I withdraw all of my concerns and questions about his upper body strength.
Yeah, I've been humbled.
Yeah, and the plot kind of thickened too, because as we saw this thing kind of leaning over, we started inspecting it more closely, and I saw what looked to me like clear sets of claw marks. You could see individual scratches where claws grabbed it.
Yeah, you pointed that out, and the more I looked at it, the more I could visualize the hands kind of trying to jank it down.
Yeah, and then I did kind of my eyeball measurement of it, and I was like, well, wait, that means the top hand would be at 7 feet high, and the lower hand would be somewhere between 5 and 6 feet high when it pulls it over.
Wow.
And then I looked, and there were some other marks even higher, but they were smaller marks, like less force. I'm wondering if something pulled the tree most of the way over and then moved for a better handhold to pull it down the rest of the way closer to the end of it.
Just the fact that they look so similar, like especially the bigger ones.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that just being luck from nature or something.
Right. Yeah, I when I looked at it, in the context that we're talking about, the way the tree had fallen, the damage to the base of the tree, the apparent claw marks on it, I mean, that thing just screamed, an angry dog man came and ripped that tree down. And, I'm sure there are hunters out there who are saying, well, deer rub their antlers against trees all the time, and they can make those scratch marks, and they can be pretty high up. Well, I don't believe they're going to be 7 feet high. And the way they were situated, well, the way the tree was situated, a deer couldn't build up enough momentum to knock it over from that angle. It wasn't like it was. There was another tree too close to it for a deer to run at it sideways and knock it over sideways the way that it was. So that one, if Dogman didn't do that, that's a mystery, because I have no idea what could have brought that tree down, or any other evidence that Dogman might have been in the area. And unfortunately, the ground, despite all the rain we've had recently, the ground was pretty hard, but we found a couple of soft spots where we could look for prints.
Yeah, we saw a few little ones, I think. We also saw a few big ones, but they didn't have like a clear Dogman feet kind of shape.
No, you could almost make out claws on a couple of them. What shocked me on those was the depth, though.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny, because I remember the first set that we found, I was telling you guys, this ground is really, really soft, and, if a 600-pound creature were standing in it, it wouldn't be these little light prints like we're looking at here. It'd be something deep, like that.
Yeah.
And that's when we started finding the ones that were a good 4 or 5 inches deep into the mud.
I don't know how to decide if that's definitely a print or not, but it was kind of in the middle of convincing.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Again, if it's a print, it was a very, very heavy animal. And it definitely wasn't a human, because the print was too small.
Yeah.
Too short. But if you remember, I did pace them off to kind of see what a two-legged creature would walk like, and it was pretty darn close. It was just a little bit longer than my stride, and I'm 6'1", so if it was a good 6'5", 7 feet tall, which is right in that Dogman range, that would be about his stride if you were walking on 2 legs. So that was all very compelling on that White River trailhead. We were really enjoying what we found there, and really thinking we need to get back there sometime to take a look at some other things and see if maybe if we go closer to dark, if we might actually have a chance of seeing Dogman there. And so then we went to what is almost always the favorite part of my cryptid hunt, the restaurant. We decided to return to Fred's to get some burgers because the first time we were there, I at least one of us declared that was the best burger they had ever had.
Yep. That was probably me the first time.
I will say this time the appetizers were great again. We had the cheese curds and the homemade potato chips. They were fantastic.
Cheese curds are always fresh.
I thought the potato chips weren't as good this time, though.
I'll be honest, they seemed just a little bit, like, older. Not really old, but...
They seemed less fresh.
Yeah, less fresh.
Maybe.
They were still incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, better than anything you'd get from a bag, but not quite as good as the first time. But this time, I know you opted for the cowboy burger instead of the jam burger.
Yeah, I didn't know that they had that until just when I ordered it. But I'd say the jam burger is still better.
And you tried the cowboy burger for the first time.
Yeah.
And you thought it was pretty good?
Yeah, it was good. I can't remember what I had last time. I can't remember if it was the cowboy burger or not.
Well, I had the same old plain cheeseburger that I always have, and here's where I'm going to gripe a little bit. You may have noticed that the trend has been downward on our restaurant visits lately.
Oh, yeah.
And I have decided the reason for that is the economy. It's because it's getting more and more expensive for restaurants to prepare food the same way and provide the same type of food they provided before. We're facing one of two things. Either they raise the prices astronomically or they cut corners where they can. And I really feel like Fred's was starting to cut corners. This burger, the quarter-pound burger, was not a quarter-pound burger. This thing was about the size of a normal hamburger patty at McDonald's.
Yeah, the bun size was definitely smaller than the last time.
Yep. And, you know, I get it. You know, it's still a really good price, so you know it's still good value for your money in this economy. But don't advertise it as a quarter-pound burger, because I would rather pay the extra $2 and get a real quarter-pound burger than have you throw that thing on my plate and expect it to be a meal for me.
Yeah, we're lucky that we had the appetizers.
Definitely.
On my burger, I noticed that there was like too much bacon. At least in my opinion. The burger
I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, there's like a lot of bacon. There's like too much bacon.
Wow.
Yeah.
For me, I thought there was just a perfect amount, because with a lot of burgers, they put too little. I know this is a fast food place, but Wendy's, theirs was not that good. When I had like a Baconator or something like that,
Right.
barely any bacon. It was just really sad.
See, for me, I couldn't even like taste the burger, and if I can't even taste the burger, then it's not exactly my kind of burger.
It's interesting.
All right. Well, I think overall we weren't as thrilled with Fred's this time around as we were the first time, and again, there are reasons for that, and it's certainly not the only restaurant that's disappointed us in the last few months. But I don't like the way this is going.
We'll give them space to fix themselves, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we came back to Bray Road after that, and I have to say this was kind of anticlimactic. We went to the same cemetery we went to before. We sat out there in the dark. We actually got out and walked around the cemetery this time, thinking we're ready for the full experience. We don't care if it's Dogman or ghosts or whatever. We are here to experience something. And there was nothing. There were no sounds. There were no feelings of dread or spookiness or... you had the EMF detector. You got like a couple mini spikes?
Yeah, a couple mini readings. It wasn't even a spike. Just like going up by 1. That's it.
Yeah, and there was just never a moment when I felt like there was anything around other than us.
Yeah, I also have to mention, when we were on the walk and also out there in the night, there was at least bug noises.
Right.
So comparing that to every other experience, that was a little bit more normalized.
Right. That's true. Even the last time we were at Bray Road, there were times when the bugs just stopped.
Right.
But not this time. And so then we went back down Bray Road. We did the slow cruise the first time, and then the second time we picked a couple of nice wooded spots to stop and kind of look and listen. And again, I heard bugs, I heard frogs, did a couple howls. Never heard anything else.
No.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the areas of Bray Road, it would be the wooded parts I'd expect to hear Dogman or some kind of activity.
Right.
But I heard nothing.
No.
Yeah, so we basically just found the aftermath of like where Dogman might have been within the area, but we didn't. He wasn't there.
Yeah, and I guess my suspicion on this is that it's because the cornfields aren't in yet. I think he is probably limiting himself to those wooded trails, kind of like where we were looking the first time, and he's not coming all the way out to Bray Road because there's really no way to get there without going through a big empty field or, at least going through somebody's yard or something. He might be waiting until that corn grows in so that he can sneak through without being seen.
Convinced that forest area that we walked through is more like a highway for Dogman,
I agree.
because it can't be like a full-on home, otherwise he would be there probably.
Right. Plus, it's too well traveled, I think, to be a home. We saw people, up and down that road as we were walking it, and there were houses fairly close by.
Right. I could imagine that hut that we saw being almost like security in a way, where they just look from on top, and then maybe they'll throw the can of wipes at someone.
Yeah. And we saw a couple other places like that. There were places on that trail where it looked like there was almost like a ditch place where there were openings where something could dive out of sight really quickly.
It was like a tunnel.
Right.
It's like these long door size like holes you could really almost walk into, maybe crawl in.
Yeah, it seemed to me like either something would use those to get out of sight in a hurry, or something would use those to jump out at prey as it's walking by.
Yeah.
So, I think that about sums up our second trip to Bray Road. I feel like we found a lot more compelling evidence this time than the first time, at least on the river trail. I think this is still a hot spot for Dogman. I don't think the area is completely dead. I think it's just a matter of being there at the right time.
Yeah, it's definitely not dead. We're just there, just in the aftermath.
Yeah. So, if any of you have had any encounters with Dogman or any other cryptids, or if you'd like to ask some questions, share some stories, by all means, post them in the comments section or fill out our anonymous report form for cryptid sightings. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for subscribing and telling your friends.